you? That one.
Sure.
Okay. There we go. I was just waiting to see the little eye pop up in the corner. Good morning, everybody. I hope you're well. It looks like Abby's joining us this morning. Good morning to you, Abby. You're the first one to join us. Apologies if you were waiting on me, Abby, and I flashed up and then went away again. I suddenly realised I hadn't put the blinds down and it was far too bright. Dazzles the screen a little bit. And also, I should warn you now that Alex has sort of jumped ahead with this because he was so excited and eager to get started that he decided to go early. So if you hear him making noise in the background, that's just him practising. No, you're not practising. This isn't the real one.
I want it.
You can't, it's on the thin paper. Right, anyway, we'll argue about that later. Okay, I hope you're all well this morning. We changed midweek what we were going to do today. I had decided early on that we were going to do a landscape lesson, which I've put on the back burner. We can do that next week instead. And then I got the notification from Mrs. Hardy that she wanted the boys and girls at Abernethy to do sport theme art for their project this week. And it's a very, very tricky, I think it's a very, very tricky thing to do a person in motion and a person in a figure composition. So I decided I was going to have to do a lesson with Alex on his own anyway, so may as well open it up to everybody. Excuse me, I've got a tickly throat today. So, it's quite a tricky one. We're going to have a 5-minute practice at the beginning. I'm going to show you how to draw a figure in motion and break it down into little chunks. So hopefully you've got with you just now just some scrap paper and a pencil. You don't want to do your practice one for the very, very first time on the nice cartridge paper that you're going to be painting on today, you know, because you're going to rub it out and start all over again. So it'd be nice to build up your confidence a little bit before you're let loose on the big piece of paper. So hopefully you've got just a scrap bit of paper, just maybe photocopier paper, a pencil and a rubber. If you didn't, I've got some pictures here of the figure in motion that you can work from. It might be an idea to have one of these printed off, or a photograph, or a something ripped out of a magazine or something to work from, because it's going to be hard for you to keep looking at something that's next to me. So hopefully you've got something lying next to you. Might even be a dancer or somebody in your favourite sport, football or basketball, whatever. We've got a couple of print off just of the silhouettes sitting here, but it doesn't need to be a silhouette, by the way. It could just be the real figure. For later on in the lesson, you'll also need some nice cartridge paper. This is stuff that we picked up at the weekend from my darling daddy. Alex's granddad brought us a really, really nice pack of paper. It's not quite A4 and it's not quite A3, it's sort of in between. I'm not exactly sure what the size is. So, but A3 is ideal, or A4. Yeah, it was just a big pack of paper. It's really, really nice stuff. So we've got that. We still need the pencil for that step as well. We've got a little selection of paints. Now, it's up to you what colours you go for with this. We're sticking with a cool theme, because we're cool characters.
I'm not cool.
He's not cool. So we've gone for blues, and I've just put a wee bag over the top of them. This keeps your paint from drying out really quickly. So sometimes I do this at the start of my day. If I know I'm going to be painting at some point during the day, but I know that I'm not going to have time in between lessons to put paint out into all the palettes, I sometimes just wrap it in cling film or a bag just to keep it fresh. So we've gone for sort of cool colours. So I've got the black that I'm going to need for step 3. Got like a royal blue, a cyan blue, a turquoise. This is like a tealy blue, and I've also got some white to mix some shades and tints of those colours. So you don't need all the colours under the rainbow. We're going to do a little bit of colour mixing here. So you could actually do a really nice job of this just with having 2 colours and do lots of different shades by mixing them together. So you could even just have like yellow. So it might be, you might even go down the theme of whatever house you're in. So if you're in Farg, you might have maybe a green and then maybe a yellow to mix lighter shades of green, or a blue, whatever. Okay, so we've gone for blues, but it's totally up to you what colours you want to have in the background of yours. But you will need black as well. Also, what you're going to need are some brushes. Now, ideally, you want a really, really thin brush for all your fine detail, and a medium sized brush as well for filling all those areas. You might even want a slightly bigger one than this, but that's all that we had in the cupboard. And of course, a Sharpie pen is perfect. perfect as well. I chucked that on at the end as well. Now, got baby wipes here in case we get mucky. And also, because we're going to be painting, and we're painting right to the edges today, just a bit of newsprint or magazine or whatever, just to keep your table nice and clean. Now, I have finished my step 2 and 3 earlier this morning, while everybody was still getting ready. It still hasn't had the silhouette put on top or the black lines, but I needed it to be dry so I could show you what to do next. So this is what it will pretty much look like at the end. Okay, pretty much. Now, let's get started. So, hopefully you've got a wee figure here. Now, as soon as Alex looked at this morning, I'm sure you won't mind me saying, he just went, oh, why are we doing people? I hate doing people. It's so hard to do people. And I said, yeah, but that's because you're thinking of them as being people. So whenever you start to draw anything, it could be a car, a house, a person, an animal, whatever. Stop thinking of it, this is going to sound really weird, but stop thinking of it as that thing. Start looking at it as shapes, lines and angles. Okay, shapes, lines and angles. If you remember those things, because that's some of the visual elements that we use in art and design, they're in everything. If you think of an object as being those things, all of a sudden life will become easier. So at the minute it looks like a big problem, it looks really, really tricky, but if you look at it as lines, shapes and angles, you're fine. One last thing as well is to not forget to measure. Always measure when you're observational drawing. So as soon as you put one thing down, be it the head, be it an arm, be it a leg, don't forget to measure how big it is in comparison to everything else on that thing that you're drawing. If you're drawing in real life, that's really hard. So if you were drawing a model that was in the house right now, that would be really, really tricky. But if you've got a photograph or an image next to you, always forget to measure. So for example, this is her thigh. So I'm measuring it with my hands. Now when I take my hand away, I'm not going to let it get bigger or smaller. I'm just going to place it on top. So I can see from this figure that her thigh is exactly the same size as her shin. Okay, you see that? Her whole leg is exactly the same size from the top of her head to her bottom. Okay, so that will help you a little bit. That will help you with your proportion if you keep measuring. So measuring, checking the angle, so using your finger or using your pencil to check the angle that things go in. And not just on the figure itself, also on your negative space. So this white space is called negative space, that's the background. So, for example, the angle between her foot and her elbow across the negative space, that's as important. You see that? That angle there. So angles, sizes, lines and shapes. If you start thinking that way, anything is possible. Okay? Right. What we're going to do first of all is we're just going to do a little stick figure. So these are gestures. The way the body is right now are gestures. So we're just going to do a stick figure just to break this down, to stop thinking about it being a figure. So on a scrap bit of paper, all I'm going to do just now with my pencil is I'm just going to look at the main bones in her body. So the main bone, one of the most important bones, is of course her spine, which runs from her neck all the way down to her buttocks, coccyx bones. Okay, so we're just going to look at the way her spine goes. So it's at a slight angle. Just at a slight angle. That's my first line there. Now, next lecture. When you start off sketching today, that's wonderful. When you start off with your sketching today, do not press hard. Press nice and lightly with your pencil. You're just doing a sketch at the minute, so you should be holding your pencil in the middle. It should be nice and loose. You're using your shoulder when you're drawing. You're not sitting really, really tight like you're writing. So your pencil shouldn't be held like this, and you shouldn't just be using your wrist. You should just be trying to use that shoulder. Hold it nice and loosely in your, hold your pencil nice and loosely in your hand. Keep it nice and loose. And then once you start to be happy with your drawing, then you can press harder. Okay? Because as I was saying yesterday, I don't know if you joined me yesterday with primary 1 to 3, if you do a line like that, or a line like that, it has a huge difference. So if you make a mistake now and you try and rub that out, one rubs out really easily, but the second one has actually dented the paper and left a big muckle mark there. So try and get into the habit of drawing really, really lightly, really loosely with your arm. Lots of little lines are better than one big solid line. Lovely, that's really nice. Sorry, I'm getting distracted by Alex, who's done a fantastic, just an absolutely amazing job of his practice. And this is the person that told me you couldn't do this earlier. Right, now what I want you to do then is I want you to actually, while I'm talking to everybody else, enlarge, like put that onto there, but make it slightly bigger. Do the same thing again, but make it bigger. You'll have more confidence now because you've done it right the first time. So now you know you can. Right, let's go back onto you guys. So we've done the spine. Now I'm going to look at the way her shoulders are. So I'm holding my pencil just above her shoulders. It's at a slight angle, like this. It's like an offset of T. Then I'm going to go from the bottom of the spine, there'll be two legs coming out, or her hips. Now, the leg is not straight. It's made of 3 bones. You've got your thigh, your shin, and your ankle. Your foot. Well, your ankle. Your ankle's a joint, I guess. So we're going to go up to the hip first, so it comes down at a very, very steep angle there. And then it comes down. I'm not checking sizes just now. I'll go back and do that in a second. So that's her leg done, one leg done. Her second leg kicks out behind her. Just going to check that, it looks a wee bit off. And her knee is in line with her ankle, like that. Excellent. Right, her shin now is coming back. And her foot's coming down at that angle there. Okay, so I'm basically doing a stick person at the minute. That's all I'm doing until I know that my sizes and my angles are right. There's no point in starting off trying to draw around the outside line. That's going to be impossible. We'll do lots and lots of detail then find out things aren't quite right. Right, let's have a wee look at her arm. Bring that down. Now it stops midway on her body. Where her 6-pack probably, that's a lucky thing. And then it comes up. The fist looks like it's in line with her ankle, so that's perfect. I'm just going to do that as a circle just now. Okay, and her back arm is coming out a triangle, so it's coming out 1, you okay? And then it's coming down, and it's resting. It looks like it's resting, but it's probably actually behind her. It's resting right on the curve of her back. Okay, just covering right into there. So if we just look at my stick figure just now. Okay, right, next up, I just need to check these sizes. I'm not 100% sure that they're long enough. So my leg, oh my goodness, it's so long. All the way from both the legs are the same length. Yep. I haven't actually put a head on, which would help. Now, if you just look at the head, it's never as big as the shoulders. So just going to make that come out a little bit. Just going to practice that oval shape. I'll keep catching the edge of the paper there. Okay. Bit of a mess in my oval. If you look at it, it's got loads and loads of circles at it all together, but that's okay. Right, so that's my stick figure done. I just want to check this length of the body. Is that the same as the leg? Yeah, perfect. So that's my stick figure done. Right, next up, now that I've done my stick figure, what I'm now going to do, stop pressing so hard with your pencil, is just go around, and now I can press a little bit heavier with this, around the shape of the body. So often when I ask children to draw, they would start off by doing this bit now. But as they've travelled down the body, they would realise that they hadn't A, got enough paper left, or B, it wasn't quite matching up properly. So if you plan, first of all, your drawing, then when it comes to adding all of the detail, those lines disappear, the skeleton disappears that's in the middle, but it also means that you've got your sizes right, much more accurate. The good thing is with a silhouette as well, you don't need to worry about fingers, you don't need to worry about any clothing that you might see, you don't need to worry about anything like that, because it's just the silhouette. Because Alex said to me straight away, I don't want to draw hands. I said, you won't draw hands. It won't look like a hand, it'll just look like an oval. Okay, so that, don't forget that line that you've put in, it's almost like the skeleton itself, that should be pretty much in the middle of your drawing. Okay, so this is just a practice. But I mean, you can always turn this into something. Don't chuck this away. This could go into your sketchbook, or you could put clothing onto this. You could paint it, you could colour it in. what's probably going to happen is you're going to do this and be so happy with this one that you don't want to have to redraw it onto the nice paper. But remember, this is just your practice. So if this ends up being an absolute disaster, please don't panic. It's just a practice. You're going to make mistakes. Gosh, I did one this morning and it was not great. I had to fix the legs halfway through. Don't forget your proportions. We spoke about this a few weeks ago if you joined us for portrait time. Your eyes will be in the middle, so don't forget that with your, if you can see the nose and things, for example, on this face, don't forget where they'll be. Oh, trust me to choose somebody that's got a hairstyle. And I think the thing to always remember about this, when you're drawing people, if it's not a famous person, nobody will know, when you hold up your finished example, this is what would go up on the wall. Nobody would know what you drew that from. So if there's a slight mistake, comparison them, doesn't matter. This is the end result. Okay, no one sees the original one. Right, let's pad her out a little bit. I'm talking too much today, sorry everybody. Just pad that out a bit. I think I've made her arm just a little bit too long there, because if I look at it, it's actually above her hand, and I have put mine exactly in the same position. So this is what I'm saying, you will make mistakes at this point. But the good thing is, once you have finished your first drawing, you can actually get rid of the original that you're working from. That's better. I had it was up too high. Right, bring this angle down. And I said a few weeks ago as well, Alex is sort of like quite upset today because he doesn't want to do this and stuff, even though he has to do it for Mrs. Hardy. But I was sort of saying to him, I don't like doing figure drawing either. This is not my forte at all. At all. When I went to art school, life drawing was my trickiest thing. Just find it really hard. So please don't be thinking that you have to be an expert at this, because I certainly am not. And a lot of people haven't been joining in on the lessons that have been to do with the figure. And I don't know how I feel about that. Because if you were in the classroom right now, you'd be having to do this regardless.
Probably because people like me to hate it.
And if you hate something, running away from it, it's not going to get any easier. And the reason this is hard is because it's the figure. The figure is hard. It's never going to be easy. Right, got that one leg done. I'm just going to do our back leg now, which looks a bit strange. It's further away, so it's going to look slightly smaller, and it's at that strange angle, which I'm just going to check. Right, bring that out like that. I should also say at this point today, boys and girls, I am not mums and dads, grannies, grandpas, whoever's watching. I am not going to have my artwork finished today because it'll need time to dry. So it'll be another one of those ones where I leave you working and then you send me your photos later on. And I send you my photo later on. Okay, right. I think that's about right. It looks okay. It's not perfect, but it looks okay. And it looks far better than what would have happened if I hadn't done the stick figure in the middle, I hadn't worked out my angles, hadn't worked out the sizes. If I had just gone straight into starting at the top, drawing around there, I probably would have gotten to there and it wouldn't have matched up and it would have been completely out of proportion. So I hope that helped you a little bit with your practice. Don't forget this was just your practice, this isn't your real one. Okay, that is looking amazing. I'm really proud of him because he wasn't happy this morning. Right, next up, get your bit of paper. Now the thing to remember with this is, do not make it too small, because if you make it tiny, you're going to really struggle to get the shape and the accuracy right, and also you're going to have to paint that whole background one colour and it's going to take forever and it's going to get really, really boring. So try and fill the page. So if it helps you, because sometimes this helps me, put a little mark where you would like your picture to start, put a little mark where you would like it to be at the bottom, and put some marks at the sides. That always helps me a little bit. It gives me a little bit of a guideline. It makes me think that I need to hit these spots. If I don't hit these spots, then I've not made it quite as big as I want to. Because I noticed this morning, I didn't quite make this as large as I should have done. Okay, so what I'm going to do to get started is I'm actually going to put those spots, just like I'm telling you now to do. So I'll need a spot down there for her foot, I'll need a spot away over here for her other foot, and I'll need a spot up there for her hand. So if I put those 4 spots, I don't know if you can see them okay on screen, it just helps me a little bit. And actually, I don't need this now, because I've got my brilliant sketch that I'm going to work from instead. can go back to that if there's something I'm not very sure about, but I don't need to. Right, so Alex has already started. He's flying ahead today. So I'm just going to get going with that spine again. I'm just going to put in... You all right? You happy? Oh, good.
Put a happy face on him.
A happy face on me. Good God. Never thought I'd see a happy face. You're not very happy today because your dad's away to go. Daddy's going to be back to work today as well, so you're a bit sad about that as well, aren't you? Yeah, today's a bit rubbish. Never mind. Today's a bit rubbish.
Really bad.
So I'm just lightly, you'll probably not be able to see that very well, lightly drawing those lines in first, just to double check, put my shoulders in, and the size is excellent, much better than my one that I did this morning. And don't forget, Mrs. C, do not bring that hand down too low like you did the first time round. First time round that was far too low. That's a bit better this time. That's the top half done. It's just like doing stick figures. Who doesn't like doing a stick figure? It's brilliant. I have a mannequin, but I've totally lost it, which is one of those wooden figures that's got the head, it's got all the joints, and I really, really wanted it for today's lesson. I think it's in school. I really, really wish I'd had it for today.
Mannequin?
It's like a little mini one, a wooden one. Yeah.
Oh,
I actually had two. Daddy, Mr. C broke one of the legs off at once, the other one, so I actually had to get another one. Just put them with it. Right. Well done, Dad, exactly. Right, there we go. Stick figure done. Right, I'm going to quickly go around this just now, just really, really, really fast. Please forgive me, it probably will not be my best ever work, because I want to just show you, because I'm aware of the fact that I'm blethering quite a lot today. I want to get on to showing you how to do the paint. Some of you are probably getting really fed up right now because you're probably finished, and Alex is nearly finished. Right, so I'm just going to quickly put this body in, and I'm just working from a new drawing now. Keeping my pencil nice and light, don't forget, we don't want any hard lines at the minute. If you are finished your figure, by the way, go round it with a Sharpie pen, if you're finished. That just helps when it comes to painting. This size is much better than my first one. That's looking amazing, Alex. I must be really happy with that. Are you? Alex struggles because like another reason that you're struggling right now is you spend a lot of your life drawing cartoony, stick figurey things, don't you? It's like you're 40. Oh, you're wee. I don't even know what to call them. What do you call all your figures? Anime or something?
Anime?
No, it's not anime. What is it you do?
I'm not interested in anime.
I'm not interested in anime. Okay, nearly done. It's coming together really, really well. Just speeding up a little bit. And it's still too high, you know. Okay, right, figure done. So, oh, ponytail. Right, so if you are finished, just start going around all those lines with the Sharpie pen. Don't go over your overlapping lines here. Just remember it's a silhouette that we're doing, so it's just the outside that you're really wanting. So don't do, for example, that line there. I actually haven't really got that line there, just do the outside shape. So now just with a Sharpie, and actually, do you know what I'm saying, don't do the overlapping shapes, it really, really won't matter because you're going to colour fill this black anyway. So now just go over those lines. If your lines end up being quite bumpy, it doesn't matter at all, because you're going to also be adding some paint quite soon. And if you see any mistakes at this point, fix them. For example, I just noticed her neck wasn't quite right there. This Sharpie's running out. That shows how much we've been using them of late.
I suppose I put it over paint a bit.
You put over wet paint?
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll happen. Okay.
the lines missing in the middle.
Right, if you're finished, you could start doing your.
I'm not.
You're not.
Just working on it.
Just realised her shoulders way too far over there. Just going to quickly go over her face. Da, 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 da. Something weird's going on her shoulder, her back shoulder, but we'll fix it later. I can see it's not quite right. I have to borrow your Sharpie, darling, because this one's gone. Right, I need to fix. Where's my original drawing? Something's gone wrong with her back shoulder. Right, that's better. Ignore that line. That shouldn't be there. So, once you're finished, go over your figure with the black Sharpie pen. And then what I want you to do is be a bit more creative. So I want you to split your background into sections. So think, it could be a running track, it could be a sport field, it could be whatever you feel like, really. Don't split it into too many sections, because next up what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to paint these sections different shades of your colours. If you do too many sections, you're going to be painting quite a lot, okay? But what have I got here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's a lovely number. So maybe split it up into 10 different sections, okay? And just think about the way that you want your lines to go. So there you go, you've got your first one there. 1. 2. I've been very brave. I'm going straight into this with a Sharpie. I maybe should have done it with a pencil first. That's me. 2. 1, 2, 3. What I might do now is just maybe bring down some sun rays or something. So that's me. That's maybe a few more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, continue that line down, that line goes 7 and 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's go for 1 more here then. So yeah, you don't want too many sections, but you want enough to make your design quite interesting. Let's just put another one down here. Okay. That's my design finished. What's that? Step 2. Go, you want that to mind? You're going to paint the inside with black, so don't bother rubbing out the skeleton. You'll cover all that up. Right. I hope you're doing okay speed-wise. Hello, Duncan, age 10. Is it easier to sketch than drawing? Yeah, I would say so, Duncan. Definitely. If you go with the stick figure, like I was saying earlier, so break it down. So think about all the bones of your body first, and then go around it to get all the muscles and all the definition. Okay. Yeah, sketching is a hard thing to get the habit of. Do you know what I sometimes do? Just on the back of a bit of paper. Practice what your pencil can do. So practice how hard it goes, and then practice how light you can get it. Okay? And you can also practice all the marks that you can make. And how you can get really hard and then really, really, really light. So practice trying to do different lines. Practice drawing shapes as well. Just one day, just practice doing circles. You'll never get a circle right just by doing that. That's never going to happen. But if you just do lots of little lines, you'll get the shape right. Okay? So sketching is really important. Really, really, really important. I always sketch before I can draw. And once you get into that habit, you'll never get away from it again. I mean, I've got someone that doesn't like sketching here in front of me right now, but actually,
I like sketching.
Can I show you how amazing this is? I mean, look at that.
I do like sketching.
So Alex is you're 9, aren't you? Nearly 10. So Alex is about your age, okay? Right, go over that with your Sharpie pen, my darling, just now, and then split up your background.
Is this the other one?
Yeah, that's the other one. The other one wasn't working very well. Right, so you'll need a bit of newsprint for the next bit because you're going to paint right to the edges, unless you've decided to get super swanky on me and use your masking tape and mask off an area. That's a great idea, but then I couldn't do that myself because I knew that I'd have to show you it. So I'm going to get my paints ready. These are just liquid paints. If you don't have these and you want to colour your background with oil pastels, pens, watercolour paints, go for it. It really, really, really won't matter. Watercolour paints would look really nice, actually. Right, so you'll notice that there was one thing missing from my list. And somebody in the class would normally chop up now and say, "You've not got any water." I don't, if I'm keeping my colours quite similar, these are all quite similar, I don't like using water with these because it dilutes them down and it makes the colour really, really watery and thin. So I like to go straight for it. So I'm going to show you how to mix shades in a second, but for now, just want to show you quickly how to paint one of these sections. So what I always do, just like we were doing with our pencil, is hold your paintbrush halfway up. This metal bit, you don't want to get any paint on that. Often I see paint and it's all dripping down the handle, and then when you're trying to paint areas, it's dripping off the paintbrush onto the paper and you're getting a big mess. All you want to do on that brush is get paint on the very, very tip of your brush. So I'm going to go straight in with this turquoise. That's all I want for now. Okay, and what I'm going to do is choose my section. I'll go with the top, actually. Choose the section, and just like if you were colouring in with pen, do the lines first. Now you've put Sharpie down first, so it doesn't, you know, that's almost like your guideline there. I would rather today that you go over the Sharpie line than stop just before the Sharpie line, because you're actually going to do some thick black lines at the end of this with black paint once it dries. Okay, so if you just do the outlines first, this is what you would do probably if you were colouring in, because if you're like me, well done. Right, do you want to put some nice lines into that now? Sections. I would aim for about 10. Okay, so if you just do that first. So if you're the messiest, because often kids hate painting because they get themselves in such a mess and they find it really, really hard. Then what to do is look at the brush, it's still immaculate. Then what I can do is drag all of that wet paint from the edges into the middle of my section. Can you see okay where I am? Yeah. Try and keep your brush going in the same direction. So I'm going for some weird reason, sort of like an angle. Squeaky pen alert. So my paintbrush is going up and down the way, but slightly going about maybe 10 degrees to the left there. Don't now start swirling your paintbrush round. If you run out of paint, get more on your brush, but don't take loads of paint. Don't get impatient now and start taking loads of paint, because you're going to have to swap colour at some point, and the more paint you have on your brush, the more you have to try and get rid of. Okay, so just try and sweep that down. Also, if you spread it quite thinly like I'm doing, it dries really, really quickly. If you've got loads of wet paint at this point, it will take forever to dry. Fill in all those wee white spaces that you might have. And I've gone exactly in the same direction, back and forth. Okay, so that's my first section painted. That's that like sort of turquoisey colour. Gone over the lines a few times, but that doesn't matter. Right, going to swap colour. I'm going to change colour now. So, what I do is I try and use up all the paint first of all in the brush. Now, you can either wipe it on, if you don't have any kitchen roll, you can wipe it on the newspaper next to you, or paper towel, or a new kitchen roll if you're at home. Just wipe off that extra paint. Doesn't need to be spotless, but wipe off that extra stuff. And that is now quite clean, so that when you go into your next colour, let's go for this cyan. When you go into that next colour, if there is a little bit on the brush, because it's a really, really similar colour, it just blends in with it. Oops, a daisy. Okay, so again, the brush is nice and clean. It's just the tip of the brush. It's not all down the handle. It's not got loads of puddles of paint everywhere. And that will actually dry really quickly because it's not actually soaking wet. So that is the best way to get paint in. Do the outside lines first, then fill in the inside. You've done quite a lot, yeah. Now, if you're sharing paint with somebody, don't be selfish at this point and start, there's white and black in here, don't start mixing loads of different shades. Once you're both finished, maybe what you can then do is start to mix a little bit of the blue into the white, or you could even take some of the white onto your newspaper and you could mix up a nice light colour. So I take a little bit of that cyan and mix me a light colour. Always add the darkest colour into the lightest. Don't try and make a really, really light blue by putting white into the blue. You'll be doing it forever. Take some white and then add a little spot of blue and keep adding the blue until you're happy with your tint that you've got. So that's how you'll get a tint. That's a nice colour. That's what I'd say. So as I said at the beginning, just by adding...
So is that why you've added white and black in here?
Yeah, well there's black for the second bit, but that's the white's for this tint.
Oh yeah, black or...
Ideally you'd have a massive mixing tray right now and you'll be able to mix up loads of tints and things. We've only got one of these 6-potted trays.
What are the massive ones though?
You get I get about a 10 one that's got a big bit in the middle. It's like a circle. I'm sure we do have one in the house actually. I need to look for it. So it's like a flower shape. They're my favourites. I have them at Dunbarton Primary School. We have them ordered. We have them in the cupboard. So in the middle you have a big circle which we normally put the white into, or whatever our dominant colour is going to be for mixing. And then around it I would just put in a few little colours and then leave some spaces, and then you can mix colours in there. But we don't have these at our house, unfortunately. I should really, really get some. I guess that's a really, really nice colour there. Right, if you want it to get darker, you would add black into your colours. Now again, black is the darker colour.
Dangerous, evil.
Yeah, black's dangerous and evil, and you're getting paint on my table because you've gone off the paper. That's dangerous and evil as well. Okay, I'm sorry. So if you're wanting to make a darker colour, imagine you want to make a navy. Okay, so don't try and add blue, which is the lighter colour than the black, into the black. You'll be mixing forever. What I would do is take some of your blue, just put some down here, a tiny spot of the black, mix that in, and you'll end up with your navy.
Voila.
Voila, like that, exactly.
Voila.
Okay, so whatever you're doing, when you're mixing a colour, add the darker colour to the lighter colour. Hi Lily, are you here? I've missed you, I've not seen you for a few days. You've not sent me any of your artwork either. But I know you've been busy. Actually, I think Mrs. Dure sent me your picture last week. Right, let's just stick this on. So that's that navy, and I'm going to leave this for a little while now and show you what to do for your next steps, because we have been on now for 40 minutes, so we're nearing the end of a normal art lesson in class. You might have guessed, by the way, this would not take place over one art lesson. So if you're a teacher and you're watching, you would be drawing your figures one lesson, you probably would be painting the background another lesson, and if that's it, they're 50-minute lessons, and you probably would colour fill your figure and your black lines the third lesson. So it would take...
But we're doing it really big.
But we're doing it... No, we're doing it normal size, so that's a really, really nice dark, deep navy colour. Right, I'm going to wrap it up there with the painting, just because I think I've wrapped it on enough now. You know. And the brush is still nice and clean. It's not going down the handle. It's that light. It's actually really, really dry. Right, so. Don't know. Is Blue Peter still on telly? See, look at the way you're painting. Alex is going like this with a brush.
Yeah, that's to make it look straight like that.
Trying. Just brush the nice. No, now we're swirling. And you've got loads, your paint, you've got so much paint on there. Spread it out. You're going over the same bit again and again and again. So now spread that out onto all the white bits that you've not done. Try and keep your brush strokes nice, going in the same direction. Now we're going like that. Right, this is the one that I did this morning. Okay, so now all that I'm going to do once I'm finished is get some black paint. Actually, put that wee clean because I've still got quite a lot of blue on it. So now I'm just going to get some black paint, and I've got a really, really thin paintbrush here as well, just for doing, oh, actually this is a guy this time. Right, so for doing his face and stuff, I've got a tiny, tiny thin paintbrush because he's got a nose and things to get in there. And if it helps you, if you want to do a really, really thick Sharpie line first, if it's dry, go for it. And I did say in the instructions, you don't need to do this with paint. You could easily just do this with a black Sharpie if you want. But it's quite a lot of colouring in for a black Sharpie. You might end up running out quite quickly. But just like I did with the coloured sections, just use the very, very tip of your brush. And the good news is you should have a Sharpie line there anyway, so that acts as your border, as your defence. So just do the lines first and then do the inside. And just take your time. Just honestly take your time, it's not a rush. As Alex, the noise that Alex made when we discussed using black earlier, what was the noise you made? What was the noise you made when I said we were using black?
Nothing.
Nothing, you went dun dun dun. The thing with black is you can't get rid of it. I always add black onto my painting for last. But if you make a mistake, it's impossible to cover up. Okay, so I'm just doing the black outlines first in my paint. And then what I can do with a bigger paintbrush is I can just fill those inside. Please, if you were struggling with painting nicely, this is when you definitely want to just try and keep your brush strokes in the same direction. Don't swirl your paintbrush round and round, don't dab it down on the paper. Just try and keep the paint nice and straight. So I filled in his face now. Okay, also what you're going to want to do at this point is fill in those black lines that you did, just to make them a bit stronger. So what do you think, Alex? Was this horrendous?
No.
After you thought it was going to be?
Kind of was, but I guess.
Hopefully Mrs. Hardy will like your painting. It's got very quiet. Everybody's concentrating.
Don't like it when it's quiet.
I can hear your sister in the background.
Oops.
Oh, here comes Minna.
Totally the best noise in the house.
Yeah. Because the weather's...
He's probably still running over getting the balloon on the roof.
The balloon? Yes. It was Harris's birthday last week. And his yaya and papa got him a brilliant dinosaur balloon, which she has been very obsessed with, more than Harris.
And she keeps letting go of it and it's going...
And yeah, this morning she took the weight off the balloon, although I don't know if she did that by herself, she might have had some help.
Yeah, and then she got it...
And she's let go of the balloon.
In the middle of the roof and you can't get it.
Yes, and it's now floated up to the ceiling. We have a very, very high ceiling in our living room. And yeah, nobody can get the balloon back. So she's been rather grumpy about this balloon that's gone missing. Well, it's not missing, you can see it.
Yeah. Lots of blue.
She's not happy. Right, I'm getting down to the foot now, which means I've got to get my little paintbrush out again because it's quite fiddly down here. And I'm going to do his foot. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed it today. Next week we're going to pick up with doing landscape pictures.
Yay!
And it's going to be a really, really nice one actually, because we're going to pre-paint.
Is it going to be looking outside or are you just drawing?
No, it's just using your imagination actually.
Yay.
Might bring
Can
some...
it be in space then?
No, it can't be in space. A natural landscape. We've already done space landscapes. What you'll need next week is a photograph or an image. If you want to do an image or a photograph of somewhere maybe that you live, like hills. I'll have loads. I'll put loads on the page. And also, we're going to pre-paint our own paper and make a collage picture. So I've done this before with Primary 6. We did winter landscapes, but we'll make it like a summery one. That's my figure finished. So next week it'll be watercolours you'll need, some brushes and some paper. That's the plan for next week anyway. And then we need to make a decision because that's pretty much the last week of term next week. Well, there's one more week, but it's a half week. So we need to decide, are we going to keep going with our art sessions over the holidays or not? So let me know what your thoughts are on that. maybe we could just do one a week and maybe open it up to all ages. Maybe make it more creative. I don't know.
Space.
Like not a lesson as much.
Space.
Yeah. No, we've done space. Right, so I'm just going over these lines. I'm trying to paint. So I'm just going to go over these lines now just to make it a bit more graphical. Stand out a little bit more. And the good news is you can actually go over those lines with the paint.
And I've got to make up a load of blues.
You don't have to. Have you used all the blues that are in the palette already?
Yeah. And then just mixed
Well,
made a giant spot even in here.
normally the rule I make it is whatever spots are touching, don't do the same colour. So when you could still do another turquoise up there. Okay. Right, stop painting like that. You're going to ruin the brush, just use the tip of the brush. And you've got it on the metal of the handle.
No.
Okay, right. I said I wasn't going to finish my picture today. Look at that. Kind of half finished it. Right, it's still a bit wet in places, but that'll give you an idea of what your end result will look like. So you've got your painted figure, you've got your shades in the background. It's pretty dry. And that's us. I'm going to have to disappear because I have got a child in the background sounding like she's been murdered because she wants to come in the kitchen. Yeah, post me your pictures once you're finished. I'll hopefully see you next week. And yeah, lots of love to you all. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope that was good. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you feel like you've learnt something. I hope you're not painting too close to the edge of the newspaper like your friend Alice is doing here. Our table's never going to be the same. Right, post me your pictures. I'm going. See you later. Lots of love. Bye bye.